Halloween is an incredible holiday. The costumes, the autumn air, It's all great, and it's for these reasons and many more that it's my favorite holiday. Usually, around Halloween time, I tend to cozy up under a blanket, put on a season-appropriate movie, and begin my long hibernation through the winter. But this year, I thought I would do something a little different. In honor of my favorite holiday, I wanted to try something a little spookier than usual, which is why I'll be attempting a monotype Nuzlocke using only ghost-type Pokemon. This time around, I'll be attempting the challenge in Pokemon Shield, which may surprise some of you. Usually, Mike and I tend to focus on early games, and we haven't always been so kind to the newer entries in the series. But this time around, the wealth of ghost-type encounters and novelty of playing a new game were enough to spur me into action. But how about I stop talking and we just get started? I didn't know that this would happen. I swear I didn't know, and I pray that you can believe me. But it did happen. They're gone. They're gone, and it's all my fault. My name is Andrew, the same as him, although it's hard to believe that we're the same person. You see, unlike him, I know where this path leads, and I know the tragedy that awaits him and his Pokemon. But you'll see all of that soon enough, because I'm here to tell you a story of fear and loss, and a story of the power of mistakes. This is my ghost monotype Nuzlocke of Pokemon Shield. This is the day the darkness won. It started off as you might expect, with me choosing a starter. By Generation 8, the ghost type had become popular enough that a plethora of dual types existed for our use. So many so that I was able to replace each starter with a representative ghost type, and soon the time came for us to choose between Pumpkaboo, Frillish, and Litwick. Looking at our trainer ID, I saw that we would be taking the grass type starter, and that was when I met Hamlet the Pumpkaboo for the first time. He was a strange boy. His father, the king, had recently passed away, and it seemed that Hamlet had become lost ever since, floating about without knowing what he should do. Even so, he was a strong member of our team, strong enough to defeat our rival Hop on multiple occasions throughout the first few routes of the Galar region. As he leveled up and we began to grow closer, I started to understand him better. Without his father, Hamlet had no one to look after him. His uncle had married his mother and taken over the kingdom, and he felt alone. I knew that he needed a friend, someone to confide and take strength in, and so we headed to the wild area, where we added Horatio the Drifloon to the team. The two of them became friends immediately, as if they'd known each other for their whole lives, and they made a good team, covering for each other's weaknesses and making me hopeful that we might go all the way in this challenge. Together, we fought our way through the wild area and into the city of Motostoke, where we signed ourselves up for the gym challenge. We were excited, looking forward to the fame and glory that we were sure awaited us. Hamlet even began to smile. But things changed when we reached the town of Turfield and took on the local gym challenge. While I was herding sheep, Horatio and Hamlet snuck away, where Horatio revealed to his friend that he had seen his father's ghost. I wasn't there to stop him, and Hamlet, just a boy, could not restrain himself from going to meet the spectral figure. The ghost, the very image of his father, called out to his son the moment he appeared, saying,
"I am thy father's spirit, doomed for a certain term to walk the night. If thou didst ever thy dear father love, revenge his foul and most unnatural murder."
"Murder?" Hamlet asked, and at this point it was too late. His path had been laid, though none of us knew it yet. "Tell me who it was, that I may sweep to my revenge." The ghost of his father smiled, and spoke these words.
"The serpent that did sting thy father's life now wears his crown."
It was his brother, Hamlet's uncle, that had killed him, and Hamlet knew it to be true. Now, it was his duty to avenge his father, and Hamlet left determined to do the job. He was never the same. I might have noticed the change sooner, but I confess that I didn't have my eye on him as much as I should have. The Turfield gym leader specialized in grass types, which meant it was Horatio who I was watching, cheering him on as he knocked Milo's team into oblivion with gust. Meanwhile, unseen, Hamlet was hatching a plan, a scheme where he would feign madness and, in doing so, unveil his treacherous uncle's real intentions. If only I had noticed then what was happening. Maybe this all could have been avoided. But I was foolish. None the wiser to Hamlet's intentions as we made our way through Route 5 and into Hulbury, the stage of our grand tragedy. You see, I had thought that things would be easy. The gym leader of Hulbury, Nessa, specializes in water-type Pokemon, which should have posed no problem to Hamlet and his arsenal of grass-type moves. I thought he would be able to handle it. I was wrong. I noticed something was wrong when we started the fight. Although Hamlet was able to do a lot of damage to her Goldeen and Arrokuda with Razor Leaf, he wasn't himself. He was acting strangely, erratically, as if the very world around him were a stage on which he was performing, as if it might all fall away at any moment. It was like he had gone mad, and not only as a performance, but for real. I looked into his eyes and I could barely recognize him. It was like he wasn't even there. By the time her Dreadnought appeared, it was already too late. In his delusion, Hamlet wasn't able to act normally, and any chance he had at defeating the Dreadnought slipped from our grasp, lost forever in darkness. Nessa Dynamaxed her Pokemon and Hamlet rambled on, yelling of ghosts and kings, revenge and absolution, life and death. Before he could even know what was happening, darkness closed in on him and Horatio. Endless. But this was not the end of their story. What happened next is something that even now I struggle to describe, though I was, by all understanding, its very cause. I believed the curtain had set. Hamlet was mad, and in his madness he had taken himself and everyone he loved into the dark, never to return again. We'd failed the run, but I wanted so badly to see Hamlet recovered, to see him win, that by my own will I manifested him again, facing that cliff once more. And so our cyclical hell began, Hamlet and Horatio dying in the dark, before being resurrected time and again to pit their very souls against Nessa's Dreadnought. Again and again I tried, hoping to find a different result, hoping to break through Hamlet's madness, to discover a world where he was not doomed, where he could live. But death does not cease, and as their bodies piled around me, I felt like the gravedigger, surrounded by the dead until they no longer held any meaning to me. I took a skull in my hand, and although I didn't know whose it was, I knew it didn't matter. It could be anyone's. Horatio's, Hamlet's, even mine. Death surrounded us like an embrace. They say that madness is expecting the same action to bring about a different result. I suppose they are right. Hamlet's madness had become my own, and I rolled the dice time and again, hoping against hope that something would change. I believe I could have done this for an eternity, and I may have done so, if it weren't for Horatio. As it turned out, Horatio had the ability to learn a move that might be able to see us through this hell: Stockpile. Although it's usually used in conjunction with the moves Spit Up and Swallow, on its own, Stockpile had a very useful ability. It could raise our defense and special defense by up to 3 stages, which might just give us a chance to survive long enough to wait out her Dreadnaught's Dynamax turns. It was a risky strategy, maybe even crazy. But by this point we were used to madness. It was our only chance. We started out the fight by layering Minimize, making sure Horatio took as little damage as possible on the Goldeen and Arrokuda, and set up 3 stockpiles to give him as much defense as possible. When the Dreadnought came out, in preparation for its Dynamax, we Dynamaxed Horatio, hoping that the buff in HP would allow him to hold out as long as possible. Horatio, the loyal friend, knew that he wouldn't make it out of this fight alive, but he was okay with that, so long as it meant that Hamlet had a chance. His raised defenses gave him just enough health to tank the Dreadnaught's darkness, and when Horatio fell, he took his enemy's strength with him, evening the field of battle for his longest friend. Hamlet came out, and it was only him and the Dreadnought left. Despite his madness, he still had access to Razor Leaf, a 4 times effective move that, in any case, should have been enough to destroy the Dreadnought where he stood and bring an end to the whole affair. It was time for us to end this. All we had to do was tank his bite, and this would all be over. The dreadnought opened its maw and we stared into the dark pit. We weren't afraid of the abyss, having stared so long into it. And then, Hamlet flinched, and our dreams died in darkness. The dreadnought opened its jaws once more and bit down, and I could do nothing but watch as Hamlet died his final death. I knew, this time, that there would be no coming back. I would like to say that this is where the story continues, that I was able to will Hamlet back to life and finally earn my victory over darkness. But not all stories end in triumph. From the moment that we first lost Nessa, this run was dead, and everything we experienced afterwards was nothing more than a grim specter of our failure. I failed the run and I failed you, Horatio, Hamlet. Words may not mean much to you now, but I want to say goodbye, if it's all that remains. Now cracks a noble heart. Good night, sweet prince, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. Good night, everyone, and happy Halloween. Hey guys, it's Andrew, normal Andrew, not the character I took on for the video. I'm just dropping in at the end here so that I can thank everybody for watching, and say that I hoped you enjoyed this video. I know this one is a little different from what we usually do on the channel, but I had a lot of fun with it even so. Originally, I honestly did plan to just do a ghost monologue of Pokemon Shield, but as it was my first time ever playing that game, I severely underestimated how much preparation I would need going in, and wiped Sinessa almost immediately. Rather than redo the whole run, I decided to just see whether I would have been able to beat her with the half-baked team I had gone in with, and call it a day. But just doing that took well over 50 attempts, and is ultimately what inspired me to take this video in a different direction and turn it into a story. I hope you guys were able to get some enjoyment out of it even so, and please let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Although I failed the run this time, I'm hoping to get back into Shield sometime soon and beat the Ghost Monologue for real, so if you have any advice or suggestions, I would love to hear them. Also, if you're new to the channel, I suggest you check out our other videos. With various Nuzlocks, tier lists, ROM hack playthroughs, and trainer rankings, I'm sure there's something you'll enjoy. So, once again, I want to wish you an eerie and wonderful Halloween. I hope you have a great day, and as always, stay phenomenal.